Our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik has been tracking the Afghanistan peace deal from the ground zero in Doha in Qatar. The peace deal that was signed between the US and the Taliban, and he caught up with the Taliban political spokesperson Suhail Shaheen to talk about the nuances of this much-awaited deal.
After the signing of the agreement, we are sure we will implement the agreement as they require, and we also urge the other side to remain committed to the agreement.
How would you keep this deal intact and separated from spoilers?
Yes, we have also instructed our files and ranks on ground to focus on spoilers and to prevent them from carrying out any activity which will harm the agreement.
Last question before I let you go. What's the role, how does Taliban look at regional stability, especially with its ties with Pakistan and India? Because if you come back to power, India is a major stakeholder, and Pakistan has been a major stakeholder when it came to Taliban back in the 90s. So how would Taliban keep that balance, and how would Taliban see the role of Pakistan and India both whenever they come to power?
When we come to power in Afghanistan,
yes,
we will contribute to peace and stability, not only in Afghanistan, but to the region. We will encourage cooperation and trade in the region, not rivalry.
Right. And what about India, the role of India and Pakistan both, when you come to power? How will you maintain that balance?
This is their relation. As I said...
Your relations with India and Pakistan separately?
Our relation is based on our national interest. We will maintain our relation with all neighboring countries,
including India.
All our countries based on our national interest that will not harm ours and others.
Right.
Now, the US and Afghanistan released a joint statement ahead of the pact. Let's take you through the major agreements signed between the two parties. Major importance given to the regional security and the threat of Al-Qaeda. The Afghanistan government has agreed to not host any international terrorist organizations on its soil. The US has reaffirmed its commitments to support the Afghanistan security forces and other government institutions. This commitment includes supporting the armed forces to prevent Al-Qaeda, ISIS and other international terrorist groups. The US will be ready to continue to conduct military operations in Afghanistan, but only with the consent of the Afghan government. The United States has committed to facilitating discussions between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The second major focus is the troop reduction on Afghan soil. The US will reduce the number of forces to 8,600 by the end of the summer. The complete withdrawal of the remaining forces will be carried out within a span of 14 months. The US will continue funding Afghanistan security forces on a yearly basis to support the training and provide them with the equipment so that Afghanistan can independently secure and defend itself against both internal and external threats. The US will also facilitate talks between Afghanistan and the Taliban to achieve ceasefire, prisoner exchange and for confidence-building measures in general. With the start of the intra-Afghan negotiations, the Afghanistan government will engage in talks with the United Nations Security Council to remove sanctions on Taliban leaders. The final point elaborates the summary of the joint statement. The US will request the recognition and endorsement of this agreement with the United Nations Security Council, or UNSC. US and Afghanistan have agreed to remain committed to positive relations, including economic cooperation for the reconstruction of the country. The US has agreed to refrain from the threat or the use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of Afghanistan. And finally, the US has agreed to continue to support the ongoing efforts to achieve a political settlement to the conflict in the country. Meanwhile, India has conveyed its support to the Afghanistan government on this peace deal. The Ministry of External Affairs of India released a statement extending its support to the people and the government of Afghanistan. And India will continue to support all the opportunities that can bring peace, security and stability in Afghanistan. In Qatar, where the deal signing took place, India's Ambassador P. Kumaran was one of the 30 envoys who witnessed what the US is touting as a historic deal. P. Kumaran was appointed as the envoy to Qatar in October 2016. His previous assignments include Cairo, Tripoli and Brussels. Meanwhile, India's Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla met former Afghanistan President Hamid Karzai in Kabul. Shringla conveyed India's strong commitment for peace and stability in the country as well as its views on the peace deal. India's Foreign Secretary also met with the top Afghan leadership, including President Ashraf Ghani and Chief Executive Abdullah Abdullah. Recalling Hamid Karzai's visit to India in the month of January this year, the Foreign Secretary has conveyed his appreciation towards his contributions to strategic partnerships. Shringla dashed off to Kabul a day ahead of the signing of the deal in Doha. And this was the first time that India officially attended an event involving the Taliban. India has been a key stakeholder in Afghanistan after spending around $2 billion in the reconstruction of the war-ravaged country.